Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the show. This is Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm your host, Jeff Trunapole. And as always, I bring you sports from a West Side point of view right here in the great city of Cincinnati, Ohio, home of Houday Nation and the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, do me a favor, if you found the show, hit that like and subscribe button, smash that thumbs up. I am up to 841 subscribers. That is awesome. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Let's try to get it rolling to get it to 1,000 as fast as we can. Now, this show and every show is brought to you by T Properties. T Properties, quality housing for quality people. Check out their website at www.tpropertiesllc.com for all your rental property management needs and your rental needs. All right. We got a special guest today. I'm very excited. It's Sports Illustrated's James Rapien. I'm going to bring my boy Jeremy D in here real quick.
What is up, man?
What's up?
Dude, just excited. Just excited to be here, man. Excited to listen to what this guy's got to tell us, man. That's what I'm waiting on.
Yeah, we're talking to him before the show started. I remember when he was on the radio here in 1530 ESPN, and him and Mo Egger, he was the king of the mock drafts. But without further ado.
I like that, guys. What's up?
What's going on, man?
James, how you doing, brother? Welcome to the show, man.
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. I'm loving the UC jerseys in the background there. I see Jason Maxiel's 54.
Exactly.
Definitely a fan of that.
And you got the big O.
Oh, the big O, no doubt. See, that goes without saying. I think some people forget about Max, so had to give him a shout out.
Oh yeah, Max is one of the last really good big men the Bearcats had. Unfortunately, well, Yancey Gates. But Yancey Gates was never what we thought he would be. He was still good, but he was always kind of disappointing to me. But, it is what it is. But it's kind of depressing talking Bearcats right now. Everybody wants to fire John Brannon, which they all need to calm down a little bit on that, I think. But
knew that was coming.
I like Brannon. I think he's going to be good. We'll see. But we're here.
I do too.
Yeah, we're here to talk Bengals. And like I said, we're here with King of the Mock Drafts. I just always remember you talking about that all the time on Mo Egger's show, and you got a couple of them out already. I know you just posted one today, I think.
Yeah, a couple out at allbengals.com. And it's funny, you see all these mocks with Penei Sewell falling to 5. And I think that's the consensus, right? I mean, how there was the big Monday night win, there was a sign made by fans that had Penei Sewell on it, right, already. Right. So people have been talking about him for months. I don't think he's going to be there. And that's the thing that I worry about most. In the next guy, Jamar Chase, who I would probably take at 5, I'm not sure if he's going to be there either, because everyone just assumes there's going to be a bunch of quarterbacks, and these Nationals guys say quarterbacks, and maybe that's the case, but I don't buy it yet. Tua Tagovailoa fell to 5 last year. Justin Herbert, who's better than Tua, fell to 6. And so I could see some of those quarterbacks falling out of the top 5, which would certainly hurt the Bengals' chances of landing Sewell or Chase.
Ooh. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I'm one of the guys that thinks that it's going to be a quarterback run. I just, from what I've read, and just because the reason I think that, it's just because the way to get cheap, I won't say it cheap, but the way to get Super Bowl championships now is you get that quarterback, and you get him on the rookie contract, and you build everything else around him. And I think that's what the model that most NFL teams want to do. But like you said, last year, Herbert dropped, Tua dropped. So it could happen again this year. But a lot of people are talking Field. Geez, I can't think your favorite quarterback.
Justin Fields?
Yeah, Justin Fields. I thought he was a shoo-in at number 2. And it looks like the kid from BYU is actually getting a better chance to get drafted before Fields does.
Yeah, I have Wilson going ahead of Fields in my mock. And you're right. It is crazy. After that Clemson performance when Fields just tore him up, and he goes down, he looks like he's injured, he might not be able to play, and then he balls out. I think a lot of people just assumed that's a second overall pick, he's going to go number 2,
right?
Well, now he might not even be the second quarterback taken and could fall out of the top 5. So I do think that part is interesting, the Wilson versus Fields debate, and I still think there's going to be a couple quarterbacks that go in the top 5. I think that the idea that 4 quarterbacks are going to go with the first 4 picks, and these teams are just going to give up all these draft assets to move up, I don't know if I buy that yet. Maybe it does happen, and it would certainly benefit the Bengals. And hell, I would certainly love to see Sewell and Chase and everybody, all those skill players on the board, so the Bengals can take the top guy on their board. But I'd say 50-50 right now that one of those guys is there. And I'm more pessimistic, I think, than a lot of people in the business right now, because normally you see Chase and or Sewell there at 5, and maybe the Bengals pass on him in the mock, but usually one of them is there.
Right, yeah. Well, I keep saying that. For sure, I just have a feeling that Sewell, Slater, Pitts, or Chase, or Smith, one of those 5 guys is going to be there for the Bengals at 5. Now, me and Jeremy have talked a lot, and what I hope the Bengals do, just because in the past years they've had such bad luck at drafting offensive linemen, from Obuehi to Fisher. I mean, Jonah Williams is good. Price, yeah. Jonah Williams is good, but he's gotten injured the last 2 years, so I'm not saying he's a bust at all. But I hated that he can't finish a year. You know, he missed his whole rookie year, and he didn't finish this year. So what I want them to do, and what I'm hoping they'll do, since they have all this money, because I think they're 4th as far as the most cap space, is go out and get Trent Williams, go get Tooney, solidify that line through free agency. Then you don't have to go out and get Sewell. It's not a big deal, or Slater. If it's not a big deal, if they're not there, and the Bengals could potentially trade out of that and trade back and get more picks because there are more holes. I mean, let's face it. I mean, you got to fix that offensive and defensive line. Those are the 2 biggest things that the Bengals have to fix, and the best way to fix it, get more picks.
And that's the downside, is I don't think that there's no Chase Young in this draft. There's no defensive lineman that you're going to say, let's take 5th overall. And I know Young wasn't going to fall to 5 last year, but Jeff Okudah went 3rd. I don't think there's a corner in this draft class that's worthy of the 5th pick. Penei Sewell, actually, to me, is the only lineman I'm looking at 5. Rashawn Slater, pass. He's a trade down candidate for me. And I know there are some out there that think, oh, Slater can be a stud and he can be just a plug and play, and some have him ahead of Sewell. I'm not buying that. I'm not. I think that if you trade down to 8, 9, 10 in that range, fine. Rashawn Slater could certainly be the guy you target there. To me, I totally agree with the philosophy, because you said it at the top when we were talking about quarterbacks. You have a rookie contract. You have a quarterback on a rookie deal. So guess what you need to do? Spend that money. Protect him. Joe Burrow showed he was the man. He's not a question mark anymore. The question mark is the offensive line. And a lot of people, I think, forget, and you mentioned some of the names they've gone after. It's not that the Bengals have neglected the offensive line. No, they have tried to fix it. Cordy Glenn trade failed. And I liked it at the time. I thought it made a lot of sense. You drop back 9 spots and you get your potential left tackle. Well, it didn't work for a bunch of reasons. The same thing with Billy Price. He seemed like a safe pick, right? It hasn't worked. And so now go with what you know. And what I know is a Darrell Williams, a Trent Williams, Taylor Moton. If he somehow hits free agency, I think he's going to get franchised by the Carolina Panthers. I know those guys are instant upgrades. I also know Matt Filer would be an upgrade at tackle if you go after him. You mentioned Joe Tooney, Brandon Scherf. I think there are a lot of guys out there that you can get that are going to want to play with Joe Burrow. That's the other part of this. You got to use that to your advantage here, because the Bengals could have a really, really good offense. And as far as trading back with the 5th pick, I'm open to that idea. But if Sewell's there and you think he's a generational talent, or if Chase is there and I think I'm really high on Chase. I think people don't realize how amazing he is. The good news is Burrow can tell the Bengals how great he is. If Chase is there at 5, even if Sewell's there, I'm tempted, and it really just depends on what they do in free agency. But I would be tempted to pick Chase over Sewell because of how great I think he can be in the league. But it all starts in free agency. Can they get the men in the trenches to keep Burrow upright? If they do that, then I'd be really, really comfortable taking Chase with the 5th pick, and I wouldn't really consider trading back.
Yeah. That's good, Jeremy. Good. I've been talking good.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, James, man, that's about our thought on the dime.
That's what we've been talking about. Yeah,
we have repeated it. It seems like every show now, but what you just said is exactly right. And so the way you feel about it though is we're 5, Chase is there, Sewell's there. You'd be okay with either pick. if neither are there, you would just trade back. You'd bounce back somewhere and play around with maybe a Slater up in the teens or something like that, or 10, I guess, maybe. How far back would you want to move if those two players weren't available?
If they're not there, I would want to hopefully get one of Smith, Waddle, who might be better than Smith, and we don't realize that because he got dinged up for most of the year, but my man can fly. He's got wings, and he did it at the highest level, and he was better than Devonta Smith when he was healthy at the early part of the 2020 season. So Waddle, and then Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is a freak. As much as a guy like Chase is a freak, I think Pitts is there. So I actually like all three of those guys more than Slater. And offensive line guy is going to be really, really mad at me. But I think that the offensive lineman, specifically tackle, that you get at 38, whoever's there in the second round, is going to be closer to what you could get in Slater at pick 10, let's say,
right,
versus the wide receiver you could potentially get in round 2 or 3. Versus a guy that you get at 9, 10, 11, whether it's Waddle, Smith, I'll count Pitts in that category, right? One of these other offensive weapons. So that's how I view it. And look, I get it. I get the need. The Bengals have stunk in the trenches. They haven't been able to protect their quarterback since 2015, their last winning season. I know it's a need. It doesn't mean I'm neglecting it or ignoring it. I also want good value in the draft. And I want to take the top players. Hopefully the Bengals never pick 5th again. Or if they trade down, hopefully they never pick 9th again. Right. And so I want to take top talent, not reach wherever they're at in the first round. So I would be comfortable moving down. I think 12 is kind of, with the 49ers, is probably the lowest that you'd want to move down, because you're still able to get Slater, Darisaw, or one of those offensive weapons. But that's kind of how I look at it. And to me, the value is offensive weapon in the first round, unless it's Sewell. And then second round, you could get a really good tackle. I think there's going to be a tackle there at 38.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing. And we talk about free agents, and I'm banging the drum for the Bengals to get Tooney. Yep, wrong one. It's this one here, because he has. I keep bringing this up, but since 2018, he's had over 2,008 pass blocking snaps, and he's only allowed 3 sacks. That is unbelievable. If you can get him on the inside, what I would like them to do, I'm good with Spain. I think Spain, to me, has done a good enough job. I think he could be one guard. You put Tooney at the other guard, and like you said, you go get Trent Williams or one of these other guys to tackle. You solidify that line, because that's really, to me, if the Bengals can protect Joe Burrow, open holes up for Mixon to run, because he's never had a good offensive line the entire time he's been a Bengal. Fix the defensive line, because we're talking about I hate when I can't think of the guy's name. The Carl Lawson. You know, he might get franchise tagged or anything. Carl Lawson was a 4th round pick. So you can find these guys for the defense in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. You know, there are diamonds in the rough. But those are the two things that they need to fix. And if they fix that offensive line, go trade back, get Jamar Chase, or if he's at 5th, get him at 5. Pitts is the one. I've kind of changed my mind on him a little bit. At first, I was like, I don't know if he's going to be a tight end or not, because he's big, but he's not Travis Kelce big, you know. But talking to other people on the show and stuff, if you move him around a lot, because he can play wide receiver as well as tight end. I wouldn't really put him in for blocking. I'm not sure how good of a blocker he is, but he could be a weapon in itself, just in different positions that you could put him in. So that's where I'm like, I really want Chase, because the biggest thing that Chase has with Joe Burrow is a connection that they already had at LSU. I mean, they set records at LSU. And Chase was 19 years old, killing the SEC. The SEC. So that's what, and I know everybody's like, well, he sat out last year. I don't care. I don't care if he sat out last year.
I mean, so did Sewell, so did Slater. So, so Waddle was dinged up. A lot of these guys sat out.
Yeah. And just because you sat out doesn't mean, like, NFL players, I have a hard time with them sitting out, I think, because it is their job. College players, man, they sit out for bowl games. And I have no problem with them, unless you're going for the national championship, sitting out for a bowl game, because there's been so many guys who've gotten injured in that bowl game and lost their first round draft status. So, and these guys with the way the season was and everything, I have no problem with them sitting out a year. I totally understand why they did it. Sewell scares me because I think he's 21, and he's really only played, I think, 1 year college football. Now they say I've read stuff where he's the next Anthony Munoz. I mean, how many times have we heard that? It doesn't necessarily mean it's true. And that's where I want a solid veteran line to protect Joe Burrow. And if you protect Joe Burrow and you go get their quarterback, the Bengals are going to be, I think, playoff contention next year.
I think they could be. I think that's certainly in the realm of possibility, but it's going to take aggressiveness. They're going to have to be really aggressive. And, maybe they don't go get the right tackle in free agency, or it's a mid-level right tackle that doesn't break the bank and is going to compete with the rookie for the starting job. But they take the rest of that money and they go get an edge rusher besides Carl Lawson. Because if they keep Lawson and keep Jackson, I think the defense, you add in the trenches, you add a defensive tackle in the draft, potentially an edge rusher in free agency or the draft. But the defense is pretty set, right? Linebacker, you're hoping to grow there. Bates and Bell, you have Jackson on one side, Wayne's on the other. You need a nickel corner, but you like Darius Phillips as that fourth corner. So you feel pretty good, I do at least, about the defense. The offense is what's going to win you games. And that's really the difference here. You want to go into Cleveland and beat Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry. Well, keep Burrow upright. And go put up points and stretch the field. And that's the thing, is they didn't have any field stretchers this past year. And I've heard some say, by the way, some of these analysts, Jamar Chase can't do that. Ask Joe Burrow if he can do that. He absolutely can. And he isn't like Waddle fast, but he's different than that. I think he's more complete. I think he's got burst in and out of his cuts. He looks special to me. I think he could certainly do that. So to me, there is a blueprint for them, even in the tough AFC North, to be in playoff contentions, especially now that 7 teams can get in. But they're going to have to make a lot of moves and be really aggressive and force the issue. And hopefully they do that starting in free agency.
Well, some Bengals fans on here have been like, Mike Brown's not going to spend any money. He never does. I'm like, hold up. Well, just remember last year. Like they went their whole thing last offseason was to fix the linebacking core and the secondary. It should have been also to fix the offensive line, but for some reason that wasn't in the plans, and I blame Jim Turner for that, and he's no longer on the team. But that was their plan, and they went and they successfully did it. I think our secondary was pretty good. Our linebacking core, I'm very happy with Logan Wilson and Davis Gaither and Josh Bynes. I think they're growing and going to be a good linebacking core. Not that we can't add to it, because you can always add to it and stack talent. But getting back to this year, I think their whole focus is going to be on the offensive line and then the defense, getting that edge rusher. Like we said, now, are you in the group of going after J.J. Watt?
I mean, sure, make the call. I mean, I'm always interested. But I know for a fact JJ's asking for a lot of money. He's obviously looking for a contender. And if I'm the Bengals, why wouldn't you just keep 25-year-old Carl Lawson if it's between the two? Well, now if you can add Watt, absolutely, right? And I think he would fit, and he could play inside and help DJ Reader, and they have the money to do it. But are you paying him more than a lot of these other teams are willing to pay him? Because that's what you're going to have to do. If he's going to come to Cincinnati, a 4-11-1 team, when he wants to contend, the price tag's going to have to be, much higher to do that. And I don't think that it's realistic. But am I interested? I'm interested in a lot of these veteran guys. And that brings me to another point. There are going to be a lot of players cut over the next few weeks. Cap casualties. Green Bay cut the right tackle last week. Those are the things that the Bengals need to take advantage of. We'll throw a little money at a veteran on a 1-year deal and give him a shot to show that he can reestablish his value with the cap down. So I think the Bengals can take advantage of that, because they're one of the only teams in the league with a significant amount of cap space.
Well, that brings me to another question for you, is who will the Bengals cut? Because I've read stuff that Geno Atkins is most likely going to get cut. And I read something that me and Jeremy brought it up on the show a couple weeks ago, that if they were to cut Geno Atkins, BJ Finney, Giovanni Bernard, and Bobby Hart, it would get us almost close to $50 million under the cap to spend extra. Have you heard anything about that? I mean, I love Giovanni Bernard. I'd hate to see him go, but money's money, and we need money to go get the offensive line, defensive line fixed.
I think if they made those 4 moves, and I'm spitballing, obviously I don't have the numbers in front of me, they would free up another $21 million in cap space.
Yeah.
So it would be huge.
Yeah.
Atkins is around 9. I think you'd save. Hart's like 5 or 6. Gio's 4. I don't think the Bernard one's likely, although I totally get it. Saving the $4 million. I think they could actually trade him, but I don't think they'll do that either. And then Finney's as good as gone. I don't think they're going to keep him at that number. He's a backup center. You could find one cheaper, even though they have the issue with Hopkins there. So no, I agree with you. And right now, if the cap, and we don't know what the 2021 salary cap is going to be, but if it's $185 million, it's going to be at least 180. But if it's $185 million, the Bengals are going to have $45 million in cap space anyways. So if you free up another $15 million, $20 million, you're putting yourself in position. You could be a player for Trent Williams. And I wrote that on my offseason plan at allbengals.com. That's my guy. I'd go get him because I get it. He's 33, going to be 33 years old. He's also Pro Football Focus's #1 rated tackle. He's dominant. I would have traded for him last offseason. And, if he makes it to free agency, and I think he's going to, okay, fine. I'll move Jonah Williams to right tackle and love it because Trent Williams is everything you hope Penei Sewell could be. Right. And then if you end up with Sewell, okay, well then Sewell can play right tackle, Williams can move into guard, and Trent Williams can play left tackle, and now you're really set. So I would be ultra aggressive, and the Bengals are certainly going to have enough space to do so. As far as Atkins goes, because that's the one where it's going to be painful. I think unless he takes a pay cut, they're going to have to release him. Just no choice. But if he takes a pay cut, I'd be willing to keep him around because I still think he can be productive when he's healthy.
Right, exactly. Now, a story came out today that looks like the Bengals are thinking about tagging Carl Lawson now because I guess he's getting more play than I guess they thought he would. Now, if you look at the available free agents or whatever, according to sources, he's the youngest one, and people have him in the top 5 of available free agent, pass rushers. So that right there, I think, makes him more intriguing to other teams. Now, when this season first ended, I wasn't that worried about losing him. I didn't think he was going to get a ton of money. And I said, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal to sign him. But now the offseason's rolled on and more teams are interested in him. Is he worth, $10 to $15 million a year? I mean, that's more than I would want to pay him, but I don't want to lose him either.
Sure. I think he's asking probably in that $15 million per year range right now on a long-term deal. And obviously there's guaranteed money in there and all that stuff and all the contract specifics. In the Bengals, I'm sure they'd love to sign him for, 4 years, $40 million, 10 per year. I don't think he's there. He's probably asking for 12 to 15. He knows how valuable he is in a defense that is really lacking a pass rush. Right outside of him, there is no one consistent. Here's what I'll say is I do think, and I do know actually, that the Bengals, they plan to tag him. That's the plan. If they can't get a long-term deal done, of course they would love to get a long-term deal done. Right. If not, he's going to be the franchise tag. They'll use that on Carl Lawson. And if that's the case, he'll make anywhere, and it depends on the salary cap, but he's going to make anywhere from around $15.7 to $16.3 million. And if it's $180 million, that'll be that 15.7 if that's what the salary cap is. If it's $185 million, then it's around that 16.3 number. So to be in that range to tag Carl Lawson. And the downside of that, obviously not having him under a long-term contract, but the downside is that's a straight out cap hit. So if they have $45 million in cap space, 16 million of it's gone. You can't spread that out or get cute with it and move it around or anything. It's just a straight cap hit on 2021. So if they can avoid using the franchise tag, it would be ideal so they can go after the Trent Williamses or the Darrell Williamses, the Joe Thuney's. But if they can't and they use that franchise tag, it'll be a direct cap hit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Jeremy.
I was just going to say, man, that's dead on. And I'm so glad to sit here and just listen and observe because, there's so much about the cap people don't understand, and you just laid it out there in a layman's term where everybody can kind of see, how it works and what we need to do, what we're going to do, what we think we're going to do, that kind of deal. I just that was really well put out there, man. For everybody that had questions about the cap. I know we got a
well, thanks. I have to dumb it down for myself anyways, so I totally understand. I'm like, all right, explain this to me like I'm 5, and then I'll explain it to everybody else.
Exactly. I always told math is not a requirement to do this job because I'm terrible at math. So I usually rely on Jeremy to help me out. I'm like, I don't know.
You did it so much better, though, man. You were so much better. I just need to walk out of the room, I guess.
Now I got one more question before I'll let you go. You said you got to get going here soon. People ask me or us, how are we going to replace AJ Green? What are we going to do? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what has he done the last 3 years? I mean, I love AJ Green. I do. He's one of my favorite players ever. But I don't think he's going to be that hard to replace the production that he's given us. I think you can find a speedster or something like that in the 4th or 5th round because this is there's a lot of wide receivers in this draft. There's a lot of offensive linemen in this draft, and there are a lot of quarterbacks. Those are the 3 big spots. So I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, I think that, one, if you don't take a receiver or an offensive weapon in the 1st round, which we spent a lot of time on,
right? I
don't see one in the 2nd round. That's going to be worth it unless one of these guys falls, right? Mm-hmm. You know, the kid from Purdue, I could see him potentially falling, but probably not, right? Kadarius Toney from Florida, maybe, but probably not going to be there. And so if that's the case, you're probably talking round 3, round 4 for a wide receiver. I agree that in that range, there are some guys that you could target and potentially, I wouldn't even say make up for AJ Green because you're right, they haven't had him and he certainly wasn't his former self. Right. The way to replace AJ Green, the Green we remember, is at number 5. You're not finding that in the 4th round. You're not finding that in the 5th round, right? But if you,
I was more talking about AJ Green the last 3 years, which it hasn't been.
Sure, and that's the thing is if you're banking on Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins to be de facto 1 and 1A in this offense, then you could absolutely find another complement. If you look at those 2 guys and say Tyler Boyd's a great slot receiver, T. Higgins is a really, really good high-end number 2, but you need the number 1, I think you're getting it with that 1st round pick. And that's why when people say, why would you take a wide receiver? Well, that's why. Because I think that there's a clear gap after Chase, Waddle, and Smith to that next tier of receivers. And the value, again, comes back around late day 2, early day 3 of the draft. You can still find some speed, can find some promise. I'm not saying you can't, but it might be hard to find the guy you're wanting. And maybe then they go, and they could still do this, go the free agent route and bring in, a Josh Reynolds or bring in a mid-tier type wide receiver to help fill that void.
You know what? That's exactly what I was going to ask you just real quick. I know you got to get going, man. In your view of the free agency, do you see any wide receivers that really stand out there to you that would almost say, okay, if we end up getting Sewell or whoever else, do you see a solid wide receiver out there that we could get for a decent price that you think could really put on some production for Cincinnati?
Sure. It depends on what the budget is, right? Like, to me, there is no budget for Trent Williams. $20 million per, here you go, my man.
Right.
Oh, yeah. So, but if the Bengals say, let's go get Joe Thuney and then we'll sign an edge rusher and we're going to draft Sewell at 5, but we also need to get a downfield threat. Well, then you're looking at Curtis Samuel, a guy from Carolina who doesn't have the production, but maybe 8 to 10 million per in that range. He's not a 1, but he might be that element that you're looking for. I mentioned Josh Reynolds. I don't love Reynolds, but he has the ties to Zach Taylor from his Rams days. And I think he could be a wide receiver 4-ish, but you'd still want to draft one there. But to me, there's not many wide receiver 1s in this free agent class. Allen Robinson is that. Kenny Golladay to me is that, but he's very similar to T. Higgins. So that's the dilemma. And they're going to cost a lot of money. So I'm fine with finding a piece or 2 in free agency, at the wide receiver spot, but that's probably going to be a Mike Thomas and a Josh Reynolds, right? That's going to be, they retain Alex Erickson and maybe they go after one of these guys. And I think Samuel might be pushing it already. And then they'll look towards the draft. So I think they'll sign wide receiver 4 through 6 potentially in free agency. And I'm not saying 3 of them. I'm saying in that tier, those tiers.
Right.
And so if they do that, it still opens up the door at 5. And that's the thing too, with the 5th pick, regardless of what you do in free agency, I think you need to be open. And hopefully, like we said at the beginning, Chase and Sewell are both there so they can take the top player on their board.
Right, exactly. Now,
Well,
we got a couple comments on here. Crown says, well, he says that Tate could replace AJ. I don't know if he can replace him,
I like Auden Tate.
I like, yeah.
I like Auden Tate, but he's, how do I put this? Fans view him in a light that is just not fair. It's not fair expectations for him, and it's just not. It's not something that, he could be a compliment in this offense, but he's a wide receiver 4, and that's fine. But there's a reason he hasn't had a crazy breakout year yet, and yeah, he had some good rapport with Joe Burrow, and I think he could be a compliment. But that's what he is. He's a compliment. He's not a wide receiver, even 3, which AJ was last year. AJ Green, as washed up as fans want to say he is, I think he's actually going to have a big 2021. As washed up as fans say he is, and I don't even know where he's going yet, right? But he's still better than Auden Tate, and that's no knock on Auden Tate. It's just, come on, man, that's AJ Green.
AJ Green. I completely agree. I've said that a lot. He's going to go somewhere, and he's probably going to ball out. I almost think AJ seemed like he was just mentally done here, I think. Because there were so many times this season that I saw him. Well, not so many times. There was very few times actually I saw it where I go, that's AJ, where he's going over the middle, snatching the ball out of the air and making plays after the catch. I didn't see that as much as we usually do. Now, injuries, he's getting older, might have lost a step, yada, yada. But it just seemed like he wasn't all in as much as he had been. Now, I don't know what you think about that or not, or you think it's just injuries, or why was AJ not the AJ that we all know?
I think it was a mixture of things. I mean, he's certainly not the same guy speed-wise. His legs weren't what he was. He's not as explosive. But I think part of it was he was tentative. I think he was thinking about the offense, thinking if he was making the right decision. I do think the offense was a little more complex for him than it had been in the past, because he used to be just that guy, right, where they would put him on one side. All right, AJ, go downfield. We're going to get it to you. And so I think he adjusted to that some, but it didn't click. It didn't sink outside of week 6 and 7 really for him. And I think a change of scenery is part of it. I think the chance to win again will be part of it. And I do think that there was the injury factor, at least a little bit. It was only natural for him to wonder about that. But he's played a full 16 games this past year. And, hopefully wherever he goes, he can have success. I know I'll be rooting for him. He's one of the good guys in the league. So I hope he has success wherever he goes. And while there's always a chance, I don't think it'll be in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I just think that ship has sailed. But all right, you say give you 15, 20 minutes. I know we've went over that, so I will let you go. And I appreciate you coming on the show, James. And I hope to do this again sometime.
Sounds good, guys. I appreciate you having me, and I look forward to it if you have me on again.
Sounds good, brother. Thanks, man. Take it easy.
He just laid it all out right there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty much saying the same thing that we've been saying, that we want him to fix it in the draft, the offensive line, and not the draft, in the free agency, and get Jamar Chase. I know I've laid out different scenarios of what the Bengals could do if they only signed Tooney and then they draft Slater, and I've put out lots of scenarios, but I have stuck with I want them to get a left tackle. I want them to get Tooney or a guard, and the offensive line will be fixed then. And then you could draft Chase or Smith or Pitts or somebody at 5, or you could trade down. It would leave all the options open. It doesn't make it so you have got to draft a left tackle.
That is, I have not spoken with James. I know you haven't, about any of this, about what he talked about.
No, that's the first time I've talked to him other than on Facebook Messenger, face to face. So,
and it was pretty amazing that he just flat out come on here and, just I said a lot of the things that we've been saying for the past 3 or 4 months. He can see it. He knows what's.
It almost sounds like we know what we're talking about. What?
Wow, that kind of threw me for a loop too. I mean, but no, it was pretty awesome. And for him to put the cap in the perspective, nice and simple for folks. It is that easy, and that is why the Carl Lawson situation is so big for Cincinnati.
Yes,
because that is just we need the contract to pay him 17 million, 18, depending 16. Oh, that's a pretty big hit off of our what could be up to $60+ million cap. So we'll see.
Yeah, Chris Bengal says, Iceman, you say Sewell at first. I mean, if they don't fix the offensive line in free agency, then yeah, I think they would have to. But I would rather them fix it in free agency.
Yeah, that's the only way to really go about it. We've talked about in the past, we've had too many mistakes, too many guys. They weren't even mistakes. We just went after who we thought was the best player, and they didn't turn out to be. So to take care of it in free agency and then have the draft wide open, why the hell wouldn't you go for it?
Right, exactly. So, all right, I didn't bring this up at the top of the show because I had to get him on and get him off, but we did have had some kind of tragic news today. Tiger Woods, who I don't know if we all know and love, but we all know and respect as, you know, in my mind, in my generation, the greatest golfer I've ever seen, was in a one car wreck today, and it's pretty bad. He's flipped over side of a hill. Yeah. It's not looking. I mean, I think he's alive. He's not going to die, but he's got some severe broken legs, broken other injuries. So make sure you guys keep him in your thoughts and prayers. He was just coming back from a back surgery. I think his fifth back surgery. He was coming back from that. And now he's got this. It's like the guy can't catch a break from injury. So, I mean, and I don't know how severe the leg injuries are, but it's tragic. Cause I mean, it wasn't that long ago. We weren't, probably 10 years ago now, we weren't wondering if Tiger was going to catch Jack Nicklaus, is when he was going to catch him. He's not catching him. I mean, you know, I mean, we've known that for a couple of years now, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, hopefully he'll have a regular life after this, you know, because the car wreck didn't look very good at all.
No, it didn't. And it sucks so bad because, you know, for Tiger, you know, he's got more wins than Jack, but at the end of the day, it's like with football. They don't count your regular season, man. They count your preseason, your Super Bowls. So after he won in Augusta here 2 years ago, I thought, you know what?
He's back.
Maybe there is a chance.
He might, yeah. Oh, dude, that was so cool. I want that just to watch what it used to be like.
Yep.
Because there's a difference between a crowd and a Tiger crowd.
Right.
It's a Tiger crowd. There's a different roar. There's obviously more people. It's a different thing. And watch his son never really got to see him.
Yeah.
And you know, when he was younger and when he was dominating.
Right.
But his son got to see him and his kids got to see him that prior to last time, you know, to win it. And then him hug his son in the exact same spot in 1997 where he hugged his dad. Yep. It's a freaking movie. You know, you can't make that stuff up. That's one thing I love about sports. You can't make this stuff up. It just happens. And now he's going through this.
Oh yeah. It's unbelievable because he's got his new I guess you'd call it biography called Tiger on HBO.
I know. I haven't got to watch that yet.
Man, it's, you know, the poor guy didn't really have many friends, I guess you could say. He was shoved. Golf was pretty much what that was it.
His
just
life,
playing golf from a little kid to forever. And he didn't really have a social life. You know, and people got on him for not interacting with the fans as much, or, you know, they didn't think he gives out enough autographs or takes time. That kind of goes as a person of who he is and how he was raised. And, you know, he is the best in my opinion. He's got the most wins. He's not going to have the most, you know, championships, I guess you could say, but
right.
It sucks, dude. Five knee surgeries or back surgeries, 2 or 3 knee surgeries. And now he's laying up there with however many surgeries today. Just sucks for Tiger.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not good. But let's move on to some little happier news here, at least here in Ohio. The University of Cincinnati Athletic Department has announced that they are going to allow 1,135 fans into Fifth Third Arena. That is awesome.
Ooh.
So I know Bearcat fans, I know you guys are upset with the way the season's going, and some of you don't like John Brandon. He needs to go, yada, yada, yada. Keith Williams is a senior. He's been here for 4 years. At least for his senior night, let's sell the place out for as much as they'll let us put people in there, and at least gives Keith a going away party present that the man deserves. No, he hasn't had the best senior year like we hoped he would. The season hasn't worked out like we hoped it would. But I just think as fans of the program, we need to fill as many seats as we can in there for the kids, and they're still kids who have went through what they've went through the last year. I mean, last year they couldn't even finish the season. This year they couldn't practice half of it, and they've just gone up and down and COVID this and COVID that, and things look to be getting back to normal here, hopefully very shortly, and we could actually have full stadiums. But at least they're letting us in. Let's go out and support these players for what they have gone through this past year. Because I don't know about you, man. If I'm 19, 20, 21 years old, that's a lot to go through, you know, because you don't, because they're saying it's life-threatening and all this stuff. You don't know what to believe. And, this person's positive, this person's not. Am I going to get sick? Should I go do this? You get all this other stuff going on in your mind. And you also have to concentrate and try to play basketball.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm like, we need to get as many people in there as we can to show our gratitude toward them for the 4 years and for just this past year. Yeah. Brad said it'll be 3 games. So get all 3 games and get as many people in there as we can.
Yeah, I was going to say, y'all have won your last 3 out of 4 too. I mean, that's something to be excited about right there in itself. I mean, hey, the Buckeyes played Michigan. Good thing I didn't cut. Not in my own house. That team up north, Sunday, and even though it was close, and I believe we completely just blew it at the end, but we got brought back down to earth as well. So I still, how are you guys looking in the tourney? Are you still thinking NIT for sure?
I hope we get in that. I mean, like I've said before, the top 13 winningest programs of all time are not ranked right now. UC's one of those. That's ridiculous.
Was it Terry Nelson that said y'all were 500 and then you just
we're below 500 now since we lost
that one.
We're what 7 and 8 now.
Okay, and you got 3 games left, something like that.
3 home games. They still got to make. They got 3 games just this week. We got a game Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. I think again is off the top of my head. I know we got 3 games this week, so that's the thing too. Is the 5 or 6 games that they missed? They got to make them all up here before we roll into the tournament here, the American Athletic Association tournament. And the only shot the Bearcats have, which that's a long, is winning the tournament. You win the tournament, you get an automatic bid. But if you watch the game Sunday, they got to do a heck of a lot better than they did against Houston. Now, and like I said, Bearcat fans need to just give this team a break. Houston has at least 4 to 5 fifth-year seniors. There's not 4 or 5 teams in the country, I think, that have that many fifth-year seniors on their team. And they've got a huge bench. The Bearcats, they've had 4 guys opt out on them this year. I think they've got 4 or 5 guys off the bench. They don't have everybody. I just would like all the Bearcat fans, just calm down. Give Brandon another year. Let's see what happens. It usually takes about 4 years for a coach to really put his mark on the team. Get all his recruits in. I mean, if the team plays next year like it did this year, then yes, I'll be more on board of maybe we need to move on from Brandon. But I'm not there. I'm not even close to that right now. I think Brandon's gonna be a good coach. I think they're going in the right direction. We got a ton of freshmen and sophomore on this team. We only got 2 seniors. That's it. And everybody else is pretty much freshmen and sophomores. And like I said, we have 4 guys opt out. So you know, it is what it is. We're not going anywhere. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, and it's not over. You know, the season is not over. I mean, I'm telling you, I could see him having a decent shot in the tournament myself. You know, to at least make their way in to the NCAA tournament. I really can. You never know with basketball. I mean, you watch.
I'm a huge Bearcat fan. I don't see them getting in the tournament. And the only way they get in is they're going to have to go through Houston, who just boat raced them 90-53, which they could. But
on any given, like that team up north on Sunday, shot almost 70% from the 3-point line. That doesn't happen. I'm sorry, but you can just okay. That doesn't happen. You don't shoot that well every night.
That big white dude in the middle was killing the Buckeyes.
Oh, we don't have a big. That's the problem. EJ Liddell is a power forward. He's like 6'8". He's the biggest guy really we got other than the tattoo guy. But he couldn't hold his place at the kitchen.
I think he's 6'8", the guy you're talking about.
Yeah, he's not that big. And then you got this huge dude at Michigan was just dunking over us. The whole alley-ooping, going up, dunking, getting rebounds. And then they were shooting at 65% a clip for 3-pointers. It was just unbelievable. And crap's going to happen.
I mean, it's not like the Buckeyes got blew out. It was a good game. It was a 1-point game almost the entire time, except for like the last, 3 minutes maybe?
Yeah, we were up by 4 with like 7 to go or something like that. I mean, it was a good game. Yeah, I
was keeping track of that one, and I was watching the Bearcats, but toward the end, I started watching more of the Buckeyes. Going, oh my goodness! I want to keep watching my Bearcats to give them support, but man, that was hard to watch. I mean, it was just nothing went right for the Bearcats. Nothing. I mean, that was just it's the biggest loss they've had since I think 2011 and that was versus Notre Dame, and that's with Mick Cronin as the coach then. So,
okay,
it happens. So anyway. So the Reds are officially at spring training. Baseball is back. We'll be having games here very, very shortly. Now, this is where I think we're going to talk about this. We're going to be talking about this position as much as we talk about the offensive line for the Bengals all year. Shortstop. They really didn't do it. Actually, not really. They didn't do anything to address it. I mean, you got options. You got Kyle Farmer, who I don't think is an everyday shortstop. You got Strange Goodwin, who they signed, who I don't think is an everyday shortstop. You got Jose Garcia, who I think eventually could be our everyday shortstop, but I think he might be a year or two away from it. They've tried it. I saw them having Gino Suarez taking ground balls at shortstop. I don't think that they're planning on moving him there, but he's an option for double switches and stuff like that. And he can also move Moose to third. But that shortstop position is going to be a thorn in, I think, the Reds' side all year long.
It is. Clearly it is. They didn't take care of that position. They just, which they really didn't do much at all. But at the end of the day, we're talking about Farmer. I mean, Lord,
Farmer proved that he could play shortstop last year. But he's not an everyday shortstop.
No, yeah.
Garcia proved he could play shortstop defensively. He just can't hit, which
can't hit the ball.
Yeah, he didn't play above AA, which that's a huge jump to try to go from AA, where he didn't play that much in to begin with, to jump all the way to the majors.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, it is what it is. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. With just about each one of them, you can look at good things and bad things. It's just more of the bad rather than the good with most of these players. So I don't know how your boy there, Bell, is going to handle it, but I'm sure since he's such a machine.
The evil genius, David Bell, I can mix and match and screw it up completely.
My boy Bill.
Yeah, Yeah, I'm not a big David Bell fan. I
was kidding, folks.
Yeah. Now, one thing I am interested in, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, is Votto has changed his swing. And they were talking about it on MLB Now earlier today that they got so many metrics and everything now. It's ridiculous. But talk about barreling up the ball. When he changed his swing last year, he went upright and he stopped choking up. His barreling of the ball percentage went up. Now, that is good if you are trying to hit for more power, which is what I think Votto is trying to do, which I said this last year. I think Votto is gotten in his head way too much. He thinks, I think he overthinks it. Like, should I swing? And then, I should have swung. Instead of just, as Tony Perez would always say, see the ball, hit the ball. And that's where I think Votto needs to get. He needs to get out of his head.
Yeah.
And just swing. How many times have we seen him do that half swing? And then he'll hit it. Me too. It's like, dude, just swing. And I love Joey Votto. He's my favorite player on the team now.
He's a checker, though, man. He just checked. A ton of check swings, and I think it has something to do with his contract. I feel like he feels like he owes the Reds or the fans so much that kind of because we've never really had that type of mega millions. Well, I guess we have, but Votto is kind of I guess he is for the Reds.
He's been the Reds.
Yeah,
for, over half of the contract. I mean, they signed him for that long-term contract, which I was excited. I was very excited.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But then they didn't sign anybody else, and they had nothing except Votto. And that's been the problem.
And he's in his own head, just like you were talking about, and that could be contract. He's thinking, I'm letting the fans down. Now he's changing his swing up. It just kind of stinks. It's like we're getting the worst of both worlds. We're not able to add, and the guys that we're with now, like you said, are playing inside their own heads, and he's got to go out there and play ball, man.
Crown says, and this is what Beetle says all the time on here, David Bell will be manager of the year. You know what, guys? I hope you're right, but I haven't seen it in the 2 years, because that's the other thing too. I don't think David Bell is very good for Joey Votto. I think David Bell overthinks it. It's baseball, man. It's not. Yeah, you have to think. It is a thinking man's game, but you can't overthink stuff as much as these guys do. And I think David Bell overthinks way too much stuff.
He does,
and I don't think that helps Votto. It's more. I'm okay with the analytics, but I don't like it totally based on analytics. And David Bell is a pure analytics guy. And there's lots of teams that are like that. I don't agree with it. I think the teams that do a mixture of analytics plus old-time baseball, their teams usually perform the best, because you can't always swing for a home run. It would be nice. Like last year, we're 22 innings. 22 innings. And we didn't score a run. And to me, is that team had no ability to manufacture runs. And that's one thing I miss about baseball, and I don't like about the way baseball is now. You don't see the speed guys. I mean, we got Strange Goodwin. Well, hopefully he'll bring that to the team. We have Akiyama. But hopefully David Bell will let them run, get on the base paths, create havoc, so that pitcher is thinking about that guy on second, that guy on first, and the guy at the plate. If the bases are empty all the time, all he's got to do is concentrate on the hitter. That hitter is just trying to hit a home run every time. To me, I'm sorry, it's boring. If you guys 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Oh, there's a home run. Okay, 1, 2, 3. That's boring. And people say baseball's boring. That's why there's no action. If you are running the base paths, if you're bunting, if you're hitting and running, you're hitting behind the runners, you're hitting to the opposite field to move the guy from first to second or second to third. That's baseball. I don't see that anymore. I mean, and for the love of God, they do these stupid shifts. Butt the ball down the third baseline. You get a hit every time. They'll stop doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Why does anybody do that? They keep swinging right into it. I'm like, it's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. I don't understand.
It is really unbelievable, man. And I got to tell you, that style of baseball takes away completely, like what you were talking about. There's nothing like a man rounding third, heading to home when the ball's coming in. Somebody's throwing a rope, and it's a close play, and you don't get that. We didn't get that much at all last year. Like you said, it was get up there, swing for the fences, and hopefully our pitching will outdo theirs.
Right.
And now,
the one time David Bell did anything where it was, kind of old time baseball, he tried that stupid double steal with two guys who don't steal in the playoffs. I'm like, I was fine with trying to do that, but one, the players, it's not that they didn't play like that during the season. They didn't do that.
No.
So in the playoffs, let's have Akiyama, and I don't even remember who the other person was at second. I thought it might have been Moose.
Yeah,
let's have them double steal. Like that. Come on.
I know.
That's what I want them to do. But when you bring it out and you do it one time in a most crucial situation, that's where you should be doing this during the season so guys know how to do it. It's not shocking. They don't screw it completely up like Akiyama did. Or,
Sorry. And you end up ending an inning because of it. Because of something.
Right. It was so frustrating. But I am excited about the Reds season. I still think they got a shot to contend for the division, get in the wild card. They're not. Our pitching's still good. Like I said, I would love to keep Trevor Bauer, but I knew you knew it. I knew it. All Reds fans knew there's no way we were going to keep him. But if you have Castillo and Gray at the top of your order, those are two a pretty good 1-2 punch that I'll take against pretty much anybody's 1-2 punch in baseball.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I like it. I really do. I love Castillo myself, and there's no reason why our pitching shouldn't at least be, even with Bauer, like you said, even without him, we can still have pitching.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, you got Tyler Mahle. You got Wade Miley. We'll see how he does. He didn't have a very good year last year. But Tyler Mahle, I think, is about to have a breakout year. That's the reason he got the pitch and Disco got moved into the bullpen.
Right?
Because I think he stepped up last year, and I know TJ. Where's the tweet? I posted it on Sports of Strawberry Ice today. That TJ was very happy with the way the Reds are doing things here. Let me see if I can find the thing I posted on the Strawberry Ice page here. It was a bunch of tweets. 1 second. Where is it at? So I can read it. Oh, here it is. Yeah, TJ Anton. He says these are tweets from him today. We are doing big things here. I am proud to put on my jersey each and every day and learn from the best teammates in the world. He likes what they're doing with drive line and different things like that. And that is the new way for baseball of pitching. And a lot of players like that. So they are good things that the Reds are doing, and they have to try. They're going to just have to try. They're going to have to use the guys they have. Now, hopefully they're in the playoff hunt, and we can try to address the shortstop's position maybe later on in the season.
Yeah.
But you got to get up. The thing is, they have got to get off to a good start. And David Bell has not gotten them off to a good start. I'm not saying a great start. Because if you remember the 90 team that won the World Series wire to wire. They started out 9-0. That basically won them the division. They got so far out in front. They kept winning. They were a good team, don't get me wrong. Right. But they got out to a great start, and nobody could catch them. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's it used to be with the Reds. They would play great until right around the All-Star break, and then they'd fall apart. Now now they're just kind of slow. They get it together slowly, and they're getting a little bit better towards the end. But I don't even know if I want to call it better after, like you said, 22 total innings. I just don't understand that. That was just misery. That was the worst 3 games of anybody's life if you're a Red fan.
It was like I was like nails on a chalkboard. I couldn't believe it. It was terrible. Like, man.
I mean, more guys on base than we're staying in the motel room down the road. I mean,
it's like I said, they get at the bat and it's like their nuts shriveled up and they couldn't make a hit. They couldn't make contact.
None of them. It just sick, man.
It was annoying. But I think it's about 6 o'clock, so I think I'm ready to roll on out of here. How about you?
Hey, I think I am too. I could probably eat some dinner for sure.
What? You want to eat dinner? What's that?
Dinner, supper, dinner, whatever.
Ah, okay, I got you.
What do you guys call it? Brunch?
I call it dinner. I'm just actually, you know what? One place I used to guys I used to work with, they would call lunch dinner, and they would call dinner supper. I'm like, because we go like, all right, we're gonna go to lunch. You're gonna go where? I said, I'm gonna go to lunch. You mean dinner? Like, not 5 o'clock yet. Why would I go to dinner?
Yeah,
like, no, it's lunch. Like, no, this is dinner. That's supper. I'm like,
yeah.
What? All right, I never heard that before.
It's that way a lot down here too. A lot people, we're gonna have some dinner and come on in if you want some dinner. What?
It's 12 o'clock.
Yeah, and the sun's right above my head. What's going on here?
Exactly. That was always weird to me. So anyway, all right, I'm gonna roll on out here. I'd like to thank the groups that helped or let me live stream on them. It's 2 Day Nation and Ohio State Bucknuts. And just to give everybody a heads up on Bengals Brigade, I am probably going to merge that with Who Day Nation. So if you guys are on Bengals Brigade, I'll put an announcement on there and give you guys a couple of days. Make sure you guys subscribe to Who Day Nation. And so Bengals Brigade and Who Day Nation will be merging together because Who Day Nation lets me live show on there. These guys help me out a lot, and it's one less group that I have to try to run. So, like I said, if you're on Bengals Brigade, go to Who Day Nation. I'll be merging with them. But Who Day Nation is awesome. They let me live stream. Ohio State Bucknuts is awesome. They let me live stream on there. My other groups that I run, they're mine. It's Bearcat Ruckus, the Ice Bar. The Ice Bar is just a show page for me and Jeremy to do silly memes, silly TikToks, and just have some fun. It's a virtual bar. You got the Radical Reds, and another one that I think I'm live streaming on is Riding Third and Heading for Home. It's a Cincinnati Reds group, so you guys can check that one out. I'm 95% sure I'm live streaming that one, but I'm not exactly positive. Who wants to do the show? I have certain people that share it for me, not this guy, because he's in Facebook jail. He can't share anything for me anymore. So I think I'm on these groups, but I'm not totally sure. And then you can follow me on all my social media platforms, all under Sports with Strawberry Ice on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Check out the podcast later on tonight, or you can listen to it tomorrow at work. I'm on BeanPod, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, pretty much wherever you get your podcasts. And other than that, Jeremy D, you help us roll on out of here.
Will do, my friend. And like Jeff was saying, anybody that's watching from a group, make sure you jump on over there to YouTube. Give us a like, notification. Nice.
841 subscribers, baby.
And it's a machine. It's just rolling. Just
rolling, baby.
So
rolling.
We're going to keep it going as long as they keep us going. And I don't think they're going anywhere, Jeff. I think we're stuck with this crew, man.
Hey, sounds good with me. They're stuck with me, too. And
you got it, buddy.
Wait. So that means I'm stuck with you?
Yeah, well, like I said, you got it, buddy.
Ah, crap.
Anyway, as always, remember one thing and one thing only, and that is you don't live in Cleveland, you live in Cincinnati, so act like it. Who Day, let's go all Ohio sports.
Exactly. Who Day, let's go Reds. Let's go David Bell. Don't screw this up. I want to go to the playoffs, and I want to score. We can do it. And other than that, that's just sports, baby. See ya!